It's a beautiful day for more stimulus. And this is your fourth stimulus check update plus daily news update. Manchin contradicting himself on the $3.5 trillion stimulus package. Bernie Sanders not mincing words on stimulus. And of course, our new stimulus amounts that they're predicting when this is all over. All of that stimulus and more in today's video. So if you haven't already, join the family, hit the subscribe button and tap that notification bell. That way you're notified as soon as I release new videos and content. Senator Joe Manchin was busy over the weekend, guys. He made rounds across talk shows to tell people why he's against the $3.5 trillion stimulus package.
Your party leader, Chuck Schumer, says he's moving, quote, full speed ahead with this package. Will he have your vote?
And that's fine. He can. He will not have my vote on 3.5, and Chuck knows that. And we've talked about this. We've already put out $5.4 trillion, and we've tried to help Americans in every way we possibly can. And a lot of the help that we put out there is still there, and it's going to run clear until next year, 2022. What's the urgency? What's the urgency that we have? It's not the same urgency that we have with the American Rescue Plan. We got that out the door quickly. That was about $2 billion, $2 trillion. And on top of that, you know, all the things we've had with the CARES package, everything leading up to that. So we have done an awful lot, and there's still an awful lot of people that need help. But you have 11 million jobs that aren't filled right now. 8 million people are still unemployed. Something's not matching up. Don't you think we ought to hit the pause and find out the vulnerability that we have, Dana, right now? We don't know what happened with us. It's awful coming back the way it is with a vengeance. We don't know about inflation. We know it's running rampant right now. I can tell you in West Virginia, inflation's running rampant. And on top of that, the challenges we're going to have, geopolitical challenges. Shouldn't we be prepared?
So I want to ask you about a lot of that, but are you saying it's the price tag, it's the timeline, both?
It's the urgency. Do we have the urgency to do what they're wanting to do in such a quick period of time?
But can you be specific? Okay, let's talk about the dollar sign.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific number in mind?
Here's a number you should be getting to. First of all, I have agreed to get on to the reconciliation because that's the time for us to make financial adjustments and changes. I thought the 2017 tax code and tax law, the way it was changed, was very, very, very unfair, and it was weighted to the wealthy.
So what's the number?
And the bottom line is, what the number would be, what's going to be competitive in our tax code. I believe that the corporate rate should be at 25, not 21.
But what's the overall number for the budget bill?
I think that you're going to have to look at it and find out what you're able to do through a reasonable, responsible way.
So then how do you know?
1.5, we don't know where it's going to be.
So you think ballpark 1.5?
It's not going to be at 3.5, I can assure you. But with that, whatever it is, once you have a competitive tax code that you can compete globally, and then you should look at what the need is. What's the urgency and the need that we have?
And I want to get to that, but just because this is the thing that people consume. Do you have a ceiling?
My ceiling is this: the need of the American people, and for us to basically take in consideration inflation. No one's concerned about the debt. You know, our debt as of Friday was $28.7.5 trillion. And we're not even talking about that. No one's talking about that.
You just said 1.5. It sounds like 1.5 trillion.
I'm just saying that basically, well, I've looked at the numbers. If we have a competitive tax code from a non-competitive, it doesn't help the working person that was done in 2017, that's in the 1.5 range, okay? If that's where it is, shouldn't you be looking at what does it take now to meet the urgent needs that we haven't already met?
That was definitely a lot, guys. But rather than me saying something about it, I'll let Joe Manchin answer it for himself.
According to Axios, Manchin is privately telling the White House he might only back as little as $1 trillion in spending. Manchin will tell whoever's listening that he's worried about debt and deficits. But hey, Joe Manchin.
Most important thing, do an big infrastructure. Spend $2, $3, $4 trillion over a 10-year period on infrastructure. You want to put everybody back to work? There's a lot of people that lost their jobs, that those jobs aren't coming back. They need a place to work to make a living. Every state can start an infrastructure program.
What a difference 8 months can make.
Well, I'll let you guys make up your own mind about that one, guys. But let me know what you guys think about what Manchin's saying. Drop me a quick comment down below. Manchin also spoke up about Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez words about him. AOC claimed in a tweet that Manchin has huddled weekly with personnel from Exxon. It says here on AOC's Twitter, Manchin has weekly huddles with Exxon and is one of many senators who gives lobbyists their pen to write so-called bipartisan fossil fuel bills. It's people, our people. At least 12 last night. Sick of this bipartisan corruption and masquerades as clear-eyed moderation. But Manchin says, absolutely not, absolutely not. I keep my door open for everybody. It's totally false. But here's the trip. A lobbyist for ExxonMobil was caught on undercover footage published in June saying that he speaks with Manchin's office weekly. Now, according to the footage, Keith McCoy said, and I quote, "Joe Manchin, I talk to his office every week." McCoy continued and said, "The senator is a kingmaker," adding that on the Democratic side, we look for moderates on these issues in their attempts to thwart policies that may have a negative impact on the company's business. And let's not forget about what we dug up when we followed Manchin's money. It says here, Fox News parent company's PAC recently donated money to Manchin's re-election campaign. The Fox Corp Political Action Campaign is funded in part by conservative media mogul Rupert Murdoch. Now, interestingly enough, Murdoch also owns the Wall Street Journal, where Manchin said his piece against the $3.5 trillion stimulus package. In the second quarter, Manchin also received contributions from many other big corporations, including Pfizer, T-Mobile, Nucor, Honeywell, and Herbalife. These are some of the companies that are lobbying hard against the $3.5 trillion stimulus package because they don't want these corporate tax hikes and reduced. So it looks like basically Manchin's receiving money from the big businesses who are against the stimulus. Like that one clip said, a lot can change in 8 months. Very, very interesting to say the least, right guys? Well, we know someone who's not having any of it. $3.5 trillion stimulus package leader and Senate Budget Chair Bernie Sanders.
We worked with Senator Manchin to pass the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan, which was enormously consequential and helpful to working class families in getting us out of the economic disaster that befell us as a result of. I believe we're going to all sit down and work together and come up with a $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, which deals with the enormously unmet needs of working families. You know, we've got to lower the cost of prescription drugs for people. We've got to expand Medicare to include dental, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. We have to maintain the $300 direct payment we're giving to working parents, which have lowered childhood poverty in America by 50%. And I'll tell you what else we have got to do. The scientists will tell us that we got a few years left before there will be irreversible harm to our planet if we do not address climate change. And the truth of the matter is, Dana, as you may know, many of us made a major compromise in going from the $6 trillion bill that we wanted, supported by the overwhelming majority of Democrats, down to 3.5. And the last point that I would make on this, I know that Senator Manchin worked very hard on what's called the bipartisan infrastructure bill, $550 billion of new money to rebuild our roads and our bridges. What we have worked on is working both of those bills in tandem. They go together. And it would be a really sad state of affairs for the American people, for Congress, if both of those bills.
Mentioning that he worked with Manchin on the passing of the American Rescue Plan earlier this year, Sanders said that he was hopeful the Senate would pass the $3.5 trillion spending bill package. Now, right beside Sanders is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. AOC was asked during a question and answer on Instagram whether progressives were prepared to vote no on the $1.2 trillion infrastructure package if it was not inextricably linked to the larger budget bill, and she said yes. Nothing would give me more pleasure than to tank a billionaire, dark money, fossil fuel, Exxon lobbyist drafted energy infrastructure bill if they come after our child care and climate priorities. Wow, very strong words coming from AOC. There's also a strong case against Republicans' forever argument about debt inflation. Many Democrats, including House Budget Chair John Yarmuth of Kentucky, have argued that the U.S. has the capacity to spend lots more money on domestic priorities. At a recent committee hearing, Yarmuth said the federal government has the fiscal space to do what we need to do. The federal government is not a family, and it's not a small business, and it's not a local government. It's not a state government. We can spend whatever we need to in the interest of serving the American people. Interesting. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen also released her own opinion piece on the topic. She said, President Biden's economic agenda, including the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, is fiscally responsible and paid for by reforming the tax code. Here's her talking about it right here.
So my largest concern is not what are the risks if we make these big investments. It is what is the cost if we don't.
Now, Yellen called out 4 destructive forces that threaten the nation's long-term growth: declining labor force participation, wage polarization, inequality, and climate change.
Fiscal policy can help unwind them, or the lack thereof can intensify them. And we know this because that's exactly what's happened over the past 40 years.
And she wrote, I question whether we can give Americans the economy that they should and can have. If we remain a country where renting a home eats up the lion's share of your paycheck and owning one is out of the question, where young people can't gain skills to compete in the job market because they can't afford the tuition bill, or where Americans must make a choice, have children or have a job. She also points out 3 reasons why the trillions in spending that Biden has proposed is not an overinvestment. Real interest rates are negative, meaning borrowers are credited interest instead of paying it to lenders, and the Congressional Budget Office expects interest rates to stay low for at least a decade. Low interest rates means more money to spend by consumers, and this could help boost the economy. Tax increases will go to the wealthy and corporations, not American families. The investments are spread out over time and are paid for by raising taxes on the wealthy and corporations without impacting those making below $400,000 a year. Third piece, it will be a lot more expensive to not invest in infrastructure, according to Yellen. And she said, my largest concern is not what are the risks if we make these large investments, but rather what are the risks if we do not. Really, guys, there's so much on the line not to do this now. It's also important to note that Yellen is the first woman to have chaired the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, chair of the Federal Reserve Board, and the White House Council of Economic Advisors. So with all of those previous titles, she seems to be a pretty credible figure. Stay tuned for the stimulus lowdown on the $3.5 trillion package. All of the latest stimulus confirmed, like some major tax credits for individuals and the possibility of an exclusive $1,400 stimulus check for seniors. Gotta stick around for that one. Have you caught all of our stimulus updates for the $3.5 trillion stimulus package? Well, here's the stimulus that they've dropped so far. Child tax credit. That's the $300 to $3,600 tax credit paid out in $250 to $300 monthly checks that they're extending that to 2025. 4 more years, so an additional $12,000 to $14,000 for you guys. Earned income tax credit. $538 for individuals with no children. With 1 qualifying child, $3,584. 2 qualifying children, $5,920. And 3 or more qualifying children, $6,660. Representative Gwen Moore's proposal could make this bigger at $4,000 for single filers and $8,000 for married filers. You could also get $250 in monthly EITC checks. And according to the text, it says, the WRCR Act includes an option for recipients to receive 75% of their estimated credit monthly. Taxpayers may receive the payments by direct deposit, low-fee debit card, or check. Child and dependent care tax credits of $4,000 to $8,000 in tax credits for the care of qualifying persons. That means your children or your dependents. Vehicle tax credit. Let's not forget about this one. $7,500 in federal tax credits for certain alternative energy vehicles. Couple this with your local EV incentives and car company offers. In fact, California offers the most support for EV buyers. Residents can qualify for up to $7,000 in state incentives through the state's Clean Vehicle Rebate Project. Some companies also give vehicle incentives. The Omaha Public Power District, they're offering a $2,500 rebate to customers who purchase a new EV and home charging station. And here's more. Trade adjustment assistance programs. Investments in these programs that provide financial support and workforce development services to people who have lost their jobs as a result of trade. The committee boosted benefits and expanded eligibility for assistance. Medicare expansion. Vision and hearing benefits for the older population in 2022 and 2023 respectively, while dental benefits would begin in 2028. Healthcare worker grant program. This is funding for the Health Profession Opportunity Grant, which provides grants to fund training and education of professions in healthcare. Elder justice. Protections for seniors and those with disabilities from abuse. Nursing home data staffing reform. This is funding for the Department of Health and Human Services, including to manage validation of nursing home data and to conduct studies on staff to resident ratios in nursing homes. Childcare. You've got grants aimed at helping childcare providers improve their facilities, as well as grants aimed at increasing wages for childcare workers. Retirement savings. Provisions to require certain businesses to automatically enroll employees in retirement plans and to enhance a retirement savings tax credit that benefits low and middle income households. Parental, family, and medical leave, up to 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave. And there's also news from the Senior Citizens League about a possible $1,400 stimulus check just for seniors. Now, a lot of you guys have been hitting me up in the comments asking, well, what age do seniors, start? Like, do I qualify as being a senior? Well, it's a valid question, but they have yet to come out and say, hey, the exact age that senior starts is X. So we're still waiting for additional information on this. They sent an email to seniors and talked about their plan to petition Congress for those senior-only stimulus checks. Now, this would definitely help out a lot, since a lot of seniors are worried about the higher costs and income levies and the Medicare surcharge coming from next year's potential big-time COLA bumps. We're going to keep an eye on this one for you guys. Always stay subscribed to the channel and have that notification bell turned on so you don't miss one single update. Have you checked out the playlist section yet? We put together all of your stimulus favorites in fourth stimulus check, SSI increases, student loan forgiveness, rental assistance. It's all there. Just head on over to the channel playlist section right after this video. So there you go, guys. Your stimulus lowdown for today. We covered Manchin contradicting himself on the $3.5 trillion stimulus package, Bernie Sanders not mincing words on stimulus, and of course, the new stimulus amount that they're predicting when this is all over. I really appreciate the support, and I'll see you guys next time. The support, and I'll see you guys next time. The support, and I'll